Good morning. Welcome to Beneath the Plates. At this point, I just don't want to go through the hassle of changing the podcast name, so I'm just going to leave it for as it is. So sorry for all that talk about changing the name. We're gonna keep it at least a little bit longer. All right, today I want to talk about improving and becoming a better person. I'm gonna actually record like a TikTok video about this later, so I want to do a podcast episode about it because one, I can obviously go into like a lot more detail, and two, I can sit and spend a half hour like crafting a script. I can go to ad-lib, and then as I'm editing it, be like, oh, I could have done this better. Or three, I can record a podcast and use this little bit freer format to kind of gather my thoughts and then take the best of what I say here in the podcast and make a 3-minute-ish video out of it. So that's what I'm choosing to do. That's what we're gonna do. But you know what? Hold on, I gotta clear my throat. I thought I was good, but hold on a second. Guess I'm not good. All right, let's get into today's episode. So, I talked yesterday, 2 days ago, because yesterday I didn't have an episode come out, which is actually for me today. So I talked about Scotty and how there's a couple possible different takes on the situation. But going with the idea, let's say, give him the benefit of the doubt, just for the sake of this conversation. Let's say he is actually not a terrible person, and he's just improving. And he, as he says, he's starting from a low benchmark. He has, had crap parents, and he's improving, and he's becoming better. And so he's not going to be perfect, and he's going to stumble, and he's going to do stupid things like doxing that person when he got mad, and have emotional reactions. But it's not that he's a bad person; it's that he's growing and he's getting better. And because he has so many followers, a lot of his self-improvement is public. And so when he stumbles, see it. And so it's like this idea of being able to grow and become better is what I really want to talk about today. Excuse me, I'm gonna have to start doing like vocal warm-up exercises before I do these podcasts, I guess. And in that idea of essentially him, let's get off him. That is an example. I want to talk about this concept really about becoming better, because so many people, I think, get stuck because they look at who they are and where they are and think that that is what it is. And so they'll say something like, yeah, but, I can't, reach X, whatever their version of success or a happy life looks like, whether it's that they want to go off and start a business, become a professional gamer, be an influencer, or just have a family and be a good dad or a good mom or a good husband or wife, or any of those kind of things. Whatever, go to college, be the first one in the family to go to college, whatever it is. I think we're kind of past that one. I think we're no longer, being the first in your family to go to college is not quite the same benchmark it used to be, as I think that system is kind of collapsing, but you get my point. So with that idea of like whatever their level of success slash happiness would be, I can't because. And so whether it's, I have an anger issue, I'm lazy, whatever it may be, right? I can't do that because of this. This idea that like, that may be true, but is it helpful? And the concept of like, okay, let's just say it's true, and you actually are whatever version of a loser you have thought up in your head. You're like, well, geez, like, aren't most your episodes kind of the opposite of this? Like, you having a bad day, Jared? You good? You all right there? You need a hug? No, I'm just saying giving you the benefit of the doubt, let's say you actually are the big loser that you are. With very few exceptions, and I'm talking like not doing things that put you on the Epstein list. Like with very few exceptions, you're not locked into who you are. You can change. Now, if you're doing things that could get you on the Epstein list, my personal conviction is that is the actual kind of person. You are actually a piece of crap, and The rest of the world is just waiting for you to expire, and so it can be a better place. Sorry, hashtag not sorry, right? But assuming that you're not someone who forces yourself on innocent people for your own gratification or whatever, you can change and you can be better and mindsets can change. In fact, I just recorded a video or an audio just to myself, a note to myself the other day, where I was like, I think some of my struggles are because of my framing in my head, because of the mental patterns that I hold on to. And I get certain things in my head and I tell myself, oh, this is a big thing, this should take a long time. For an example, when I was in high school, I wanted, excuse me, geez, I guess we're gonna struggle today. When I was in high school, I wanted to write a book. I started writing a book. I had multiple chapters of this fiction book. I wanted back in the day to have a comic book company, and I had this idea of actually taking one of my stories and turning it into a book. But to me, writing a book, okay, we're gonna have to take a quick break. My voice is sabotaging me. Hold on, I will be back. Okay, I'm back. Hopefully, I'm good now. Okay, what was I saying? So I recorded this audio, and I said, okay, so the book. And so to me, a book was something that older people did. Like when you're in your 40s, which is ironic, because I'm now about to, my goal is to publish a book this year, and I'm in my 40s. And it was this thing that it's this massive endeavor, and it takes years and years of writing, and it's something that you don't do until you're like an adult, and it's this big thing. And thus, I have started and I've thought about for years writing a book, and I've never gotten around to it. Ironically, it is on my list of it's been on my list before of like goals, but like, if I had 10 goals for the year, it was, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It was down towards the bottom half of the list and just never got done. I've worked on some, but this year it's in the top 3. And so it's like, I am going to write a book. In fact, I just got done finishing the rough draft of the outline right before I came here to record. I was in my office. I came in this morning, drank a Diet Mountain Dew, listened to an audiobook, played some Minecraft, and then turned it off when I was done. Okay, had my little morning ritual of getting to kind of play Minecraft and listen to a lit RPG. Now I got to go work on my lit RPG, and I finished the outline. Now, that alone, that was part of this audio thing, as I said, I've given myself all year to write this book. But what's going to happen is I'm going to get to the end of the year, I'm going to piddle on it. Little here, little there. I've been working on the outline, ideas, working on the world building, the power system, the stats for the RPG, like all those different things, some of the character stuff. And I'm going to piddle around on it all year long, get some progress, get to the end of the year, and either A, just give up on it because, I'll do it next year. Or B, if I do actually accomplish it, I'm going to write this entire book in like 3.5 months and cram and rush to try to get it because I'm going to want the goal. It's going to have to be no later than December 31st to get this thing uploaded to Amazon so I can say I published it in 26. And then there's a good chance I'd push it off to January because I said, I like the number 27 better. So, anyways. And it dawned on me, if I'm going to cram and get it all done in the last 3 months, why don't I just hustle and get it done in the first 3 months? And so there's this book challenge out that was like, came across a couple weeks ago, and I was going to do it. It was like writing your book in 90 days. And I didn't read through the material, but I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to get my book done in the first 3 months, and I'll give myself a month to do the outline, a month to write the first draft, like the really sloppy, no one can look at this draft, and then a month to go back and edit and get like a draft I can then send out to some friends and family to read and give notes and stuff. And I can go back and then do like a proper like draft then, see how much editing I have to do and, and be done with this. And then I woke up the other day and I feel like I already did this in a past episode, but it wasn't. It was an audio note to myself. I woke up and I realized this is going to take, there's obviously exceptions. I can't just say I'm going to write a novel today. But I could probably write a dozen chapters if that was my goal. But with obviously there's some human limitations. I was like, this is going to take as long as I think it's going to take. So if I think this is going to take me a year, it's going to take me a year. If I think it's going to take me 3 months, or if it's going to take me a month to write this outline, it's going to take me a month. I said, screw it. What if I write this outline in a week? What if I take this process, if I already condensed it from, I'm going to work on this outline for off and on for the next 6 months, to I'm going to focus and work on this outline over the next month, can't I do it in a week? I mean, probably. I could probably write the outline. I have the majority of the story in my head. I could probably write the outline in a week if I prioritize it and I hustle. And even if I don't, I'm going to at least have a rough draft of the outline. Even if it still needs, I need to go back and flesh it out. And there's some, as George Lucas would say, and they fight moments in his scripts, right? That has to be fleshed out. Like there's still work to do. I could at least have that and go back and start working on it rather than just, toiling over little things and getting stuck on little things. What if I did it in a week? And this came from the fact that I woke up that morning with this idea of, I'm going to go to the gym this week and I'm going to make some gains. And I'm going to start seeing, in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to start seeing some muscle growth. And it dawned on me, I just woke up with this mindset about the gym where when I first started working out, and so I know I'm jumping here a little bit, but this is how my brain works. So I woke up that morning, I actually started with the second thing, which was the book thing. I applied the same logic to that, and now I'm going backwards. So I woke up that morning with this mindset of I'm going to make gains. Like I'm going to have visible muscle growth by the end of the month. Maybe others won't notice it, but I'm going to be able to see it. I've lost a lot of weight. I'm getting down, I've still got, some stuff I'm working on. I still have some weight I want to lose. But a lot of my arms, my legs, I'm getting really low body fat and really defined. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go and start lifting, and not just lifting for the vague idea of improving, but for the very specific idea of a month from now, my forearms are going to be fuller. I'm going to be able to see more muscle. My biceps are going to be bigger. My shoulders are going to be more defined. My legs are going to, right? That idea. And when I started working out, like I was starting to say earlier, I got distracted. It was this generic, I'm going to start this fitness journey, and it's going to take years. But the first step is I got to start going to the gym, and I got to start eating better. And so when I was going to the gym, it was really depressing because I would look at my fat self in the mirror and be like, this is going to take a really long time. And I'm not going to see results for a really long time. And I knew this was going to take years and years and years. And that was true. Like I wanted to lose a bunch of weight and I wanted to grow my hair out. I knew both of those things were going to take years, right? Like you don't just it's not like getting a haircut or a tattoo. Like it takes time to grow. I've been working on this hair for 4 years to get it to this length. So the same with this body. I'm at 5 years to get to this point. But the problem is I never updated that mental pattern. And in the beginning, that was a good mindset to have so I didn't get discouraged and give up when I didn't see immediate results. 6 weeks into the gym, I didn't have a flat stomach, right? I hadn't lost 50 pounds. But the problem is I then got to a point where this one-day mindset was still there, and I would go to the gym not for with the idea that I was going to improve today, but I was just one more piece of straw on the stack, right? One more piece of straw on the stack of hay. Eventually, we're going to break this camel's back, right? But just one more straw. And I was like, at some point, I needed a shift to no, we're actually going to make some progress, not just this generic, it's adding up, but specific. So I woke up yesterday with the idea of, I'm going to hit the gym this week. And I haven't really been at the gym very, very consistently at all in 2 months. And the month of December the end of December and the first part of January was intentional, but I have the second half of February or January and now this first week of February with no excuse. I just haven't gotten back in the routine. I've only gone a few times. But this idea of no, it's specific. I'm going to the gym today to get bigger. I'm going to the gym to grow these muscles. I'm lifting these weights to get stronger and bigger, not just because, consistency. And yes, consistency is huge. But like, again, not just, it's kind of inconsequential. It's just another drop. It's just another straw of hay. But like, no, I'm building today. I'm building strength. Today's workout really matters, not just for consistency, but the actual individual effort. And by the end of the month, I'm going to see a noticeable difference. And that was like really empowering to me. Like that mindset, I'm like, oh, this is the mindset change I need, because it's bothered me. Man, I'm like 5 years in this, and yes, I'm looking great. I've lost 100 pounds. I'm super happy with a lot of things. I'm like, but it's taking me so much longer. I know other people who in 2 years or even a year can have more results. Like, what's the difference? Well, they were more intentional, and they thought they were going to have results in a year. And maybe they were delusional the other way. Maybe they thought they were going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger after a year, and they ended up looking, like whatever, and that maybe they're disappointed at that, but they made a lot more progress than I did in my first year. My first year, you could hardly tell a difference. I don't think it was until the end of my second year that I started like actually having some noticeable like weight loss from all the work I was putting in. At least to me. I'm sure others probably did, but it was like slow progress. Like the first 2 years were incredibly tedious and slow. But a lot of it was mental and emotional and just training new habits, and I get that. But if I'd gone into it not thinking this is like a long thing, it's gonna take, forever. Like what if I had gone in thinking, oh, a year from now, I'm not gonna recognize myself in the mirror? I probably would have had better results. And then, so that's why I then swapped it over to the book. I'm like, well, what if I just decide, if I already could decide to, instead of cram at the end of the year, to hustle in the beginning of the year, what if I can, instead of giving myself a month to do this outline, what if I give myself a week? I mean, let's be honest. If I fail, assuming I don't just like crush under the pressure and I can't even open up, Scrivener to even get busy all night because it's like so stressful. But even if I fail, I'm going to get to the end of the week with a lot more work done than if I'd paced myself for the month, and I still have another 3 weeks to clean it up and improve it. And lo and behold, it's freaking Tuesday, and I have a very messy, like, first draft of an outline done. Is it done? No. Does it technically count as hitting the goal? Not really. Does it have the bullet points of everything that's going to happen throughout the story from the beginning to the end? Even though there's a couple holes, and at 2 different points, it says, then a bunch of training exercises and team building and character building happens. Yeah, that's in there twice. On 2 different spots. I have actually one I think I just need to cut out. And the other one I have to go in there and probably write that one bullet point needs to probably turn into somewhere between 3 and 5 scenes. But it's really close. And it is an actual draft of an outline. It's dirty. It needs to be cleaned up. The second half isn't as clean as the first half, because the first half I was going for more of the perfection one, and it was slowing me down. So now I need to go in there and work on it. But I also have the rest of the week. It's Tuesday. It's done. It's pretty good. And so now I have the rest of the week to go and refine it. And there's a really good chance by the end of the week, it's going to be an actual good outline. Now, I might hit some obstacles. I might hit some plot holes. I might hit some areas where I'm like, well, dang, I got to do some more world building before I can really figure this exact detail out. But by the end of the week, unless I just pat myself on the back today and walk away from it for the rest of the week, I'm going to probably have the entire, actual outline done, which then means next week I can come in. And again, unless I just decide, well, I'm going to give myself another week to refine it even more, to make the writing process even easier, and basically almost write these chapters out just without any dialogue, I'm going to then be able to come in next Monday and lay out all the chapters and copy and paste the outline for each chapter, and then go in there and just start writing the chapters. That's pretty cool. I'm so much further ahead now than I thought. I might actually just get this book done this year. And so that's kind of what I talk about. This is idea that we can improve. And I kind of shifted. I wanted to talk a little bit more that we can improve, and I have. But really, a lot of it is you have to decide you can. I want to go into one more little turn of this screw, and then we'll wrap this one up. So, imagine we've gone through 2 turns already. We'll do a 3rd turn of this screw here and really drive this point home. if you believe you can't change, you're obviously not going to change. It first starts in the mind, really. It's that idea. So if you decide all of a sudden, which I'm hoping this is what Scotty K did, is he was like, you know what? I want to be a better person. I don't want to be Matthew Kramer, whatever it was. I want to be Scotty K Fitness. And he in his mind changed it first, and then is now slowly working on the reality to catch up to that. I'm not trying to get into the secret or any of this kind of stuff because you're still putting in the work. But what is the thing? Like if your mind can conceive it, then you can, achieve it. And there is definitely truth to that. Is this idea of like, but the opposite is true too. If you can't conceive it, you're never going to be able to pull it off. You're never going to be able to accomplish it, for the most part. Shouldn't say never, but pretty close to never. So for me, my progress skyrocketed in the gym when I went from, one day, hopefully, but like right now, I just have to slog through it, to, hey, I'm kind of there. Like, I now need to put in the work to get that last result, but like, I've had a transformation. Now I need to maximize it. And that changed it. And my mindset went from being a fat person who's kind of hopeless, but trying anyways, and then it went from a fit fat, like, I'm pretty athletic, but I'm still overweight. And I went from on the scale of body percentages, I went from being morbidly obese to just obese, but put on a lot of muscle and was looking and feeling a lot better, but was still obese. I think I'm technically still obese. I'm probably always gonna register as obese because of my particular build and my height, and just I have some weird proportions. So we'll see if I ever get below. I know I'm getting pretty close to not being an obese lane anymore, but like, I'm pretty thin, and I still count as being obese, so it's kind of funny. Anyways, with that to say, it's not going to help as I start adding muscle. And then as my mindset would change, then my results would begin to match with that. It's like Ed Mylett talks about a thermostat. Your mind and emotions are like a thermostat. And so if you have it set to 75 degrees, and you get up to 80 degrees, the air conditioner is going to kick in and bring your success back down. If you have it set, at 75 degrees and a door is opened and it brings it down, to 60 degrees, the heater is going to kick in and bring it back up to that 75 degrees. So you kind of have to reset that mental there first. It's kind of like a lot of our healing and art RPGs have this, to where like the body has like a memory. So like if you lose an arm, and you go to heal it back, you can't heal it back as like a dragon arm, right? Because your body has a memory of how you perceive it to be, of how you perceive yourself. And so sometimes, even once they hit these higher levels and they begin to be able to kind of reconstitute themselves and stuff, there are limitations on how much they can change their appearance based on how they see themselves. So you can't just like magically make yourself taller, because that's not how you see yourself, right? And some of them attach it to the soul, some of them attach it to your perception of yourself. Well, it's kind of like that in real life, in the sense of like, you can read all the self-help books, but if you're not changing your mental image and of who you are, and this is what I struggled with for years, is I did all the right things. I was just looking back to some old videos and thinking about all the times I've tried things and it's not worked out. And it's like, well, yeah, because I never changed who I was on the inside. I just changed this external stuff. And now as I'm able to change those things, so I talk about, the fitness and the bodybuilding, as my mindset changed, my results, it's like they get a boost, So yes, I was still benefiting back when I was like, I'm morbidly obese, and I'm doing this to try to improve my health and my longevity and set a better example for my kids. And I was making slow progress. And then when I was just obese, I'm like, hey, I'm making, pretty good progress, but I still have a long way to go. I was struggling to drop fat, but I was growing muscle, getting stronger. My cardiovascular system was improving. I got to the point where I wasn't just out of breath all the time, but I was still struggling. And then when I really made the commitment and I was able to drop like another 30 pounds, somewhere in there, somewhere around the 20 to 25 range of dropping that extra weight, there was a shift, and I was no longer an obese person trying to lose weight. I was a quote unquote, in my mind, normal person who wants to lose a little bit of fat and gain some muscle. And as I would look in the mirror and I started to resemble myself back in high school when I was on the swim team, just with a little extra weight. Like, that's a huge difference to be like, yeah, I basically look like I did when I was on the swim team. I just have a little extra weight I need to lose. And I want to put on a little more muscle because I was still a little, I was a swimmer. I was a little on the thin side. I want to be a little heavier build. Like, that's an exponential difference in mindset. And then the results, it makes it so much easier, whether it's trying to stick to, eating healthy or any of these other things, right? The results in the gym, the effort you put through. Same thing with the book. When I go from, this is this impossible dream that I one day want to hit, but most people can't, and then it gets to, no, this is something I'm doing this year, and then it gets to, no, like, I actually have this story in my head. I just now need to put in the time to get it on paper. I've got this. Huge difference. Huge change there. Now, luckily, one more little example, not really example, but a little cool thing. I was able to, even though I've been struggling with these inner demons most of my life, we were able to help the next generation be better. And even though we were able to recognize some of these things, but not quite have them taken care of, able to instill the better values into our kids. And so my daughter published her first book. You can buy it on Amazon. It's called Gift of Spades by Liliana Elrod. I think it's Liliana M. Elrod. But Gift of Spades published her first book before she turned 18. Before she graduated high school. She had it done. And she had to wait until she turned 18 because of tax reasons to publish it. So in June of this year, it was done. She spent her own money to hire an artist to do the cover and all the layout. She did all the editing, multiple rounds of editing. She's been working on this book from 16 to about 17 and a half, and then had it ready to go and had her account all ready. And as soon as she turned 18 and legally could have all of her own tax information stuff, boom, hit submit and publish that book. So at 18, it's published. Technically done at 17 and a half, but 18, published. You can buy it on Amazon. Versus me, around the same age, started my first book, but because I told myself it wasn't possible, didn't do it. We helped her establish the right mindsets where she knew it was possible, she did it. And so if you can change your mind, like literally change your mind, and this is where like the fake it to make it sometimes can be helpful, is because, sometimes you have to start doing it. The gym's a great example. You feel like an imposter, like you shouldn't be there. Now, not the fake it till you make it where you're then trying to teach others how to do it, but you're just showing up every day. And at some point it switches over. And then you become that person, right? That person that you used to admire, and that mindset switches over, whatever it may be. So I want to encourage you, if you want to be somewhere where you're not, and you've tried, or you've struggled, I want to encourage you to look in the mirror, look on the inside. What limiting beliefs do you have? Because that's the first thing I do. When I first started trying to eat healthier, I knew I was not going to be able to start eating healthier foods. So I spent 3 months working on that mental programming that I can't eat healthy foods. And I started by eating less unhealthy food. And I started changing. I would literally get on YouTube and watch people that I respected eat healthy foods. It took me 3 months. And then it was only small changes. I said, what I can do today, I have 2 things I can do. I have this negative programming, this script that says I can't eat healthy food. So what I can do, I know I can't just eat healthy food with this script running, because I've tried for, at that point, about 5+ years. It just wasn't working. It's like, but I know I can do 2 things. 1, I can start eating less unhealthy food. And 2, I know I can reprogram this with enough time. So I'm going to literally start changing my relationship. So I'd get on Instagram and I'd look at healthy food. I'd get on YouTube and watch people I respected eating healthy food. And after about 3 months, I was able to cut out even more unhealthy foods, lower my portions, and start eating minimally better. And then that let me start eating a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better, to where now my diet that I eat now compared to, well, we were just joking last night. And we're talking about like how when people who drink, how as you get older, you just can't drink that way anymore. And I said, drinking? I said, alcohol? I was like, I can't eat pizza anymore without feeling like crap. And they were like dying laughing, but I'm like, no, I'm serious. Like, I only had pizza a handful of times in 2025 because I can't eat it. If I eat pizza, it's like going out and getting like blackout drunk where you wake up the next day and you feel like crap and you regret your life. Like, that's me with pizza. If we go and order a pizza and I eat a bunch of slices, I'm gonna feel terrible for like that entire week. It's gonna be like it's almost gonna be like in a RPG, like when you're poisoned and it slowly comes out of your system. Like, I'm gonna feel really bad at 100% poisoned, and by the end of the week, I'm finally gonna have purged the poison out of my system. Like, I just don't do it that often, unless it's worth it. Like, I was just a few weeks ago, I was in Santa Cruz and we went to Pizza My Heart. That was worth it. Also, I had one slice. I didn't sit there and eat like half a pizza like I probably would have. I had one slice and it was delicious and it was worth it and it didn't bother me, right? It was a one slice, one time. Like, I just don't eat that much pizza. So I've made huge changes. But it started with me sitting there drinking a Monster, a full regular sugar Monster, my third or fourth for the day, sometimes my fifth for the day. And I would have those flat pretzels and I'd dip them in cream cheese and be eating those and drinking the Monster, or be eating like Little Caesars pizza, almost a whole thing of the cheese bread, a thing of the wings, and then eat 2-3 slices of the pizza. And I'd sit there eating this crap while watching these videos or going through Instagram of healthy food. I slowly began to change my mind. It got to the point where, I was able to change my relationship with that inner. I really just rewrite that inner script is what I was doing. And over time, I was able to do that, and it worked. And here I am now. I'm still not perfect. I'm still not great. I still have, there's so many things I could do to improve my diet, but it's such an improvement. I've come so far, but it's by changing that mindset, that inner dialogue, and rewriting some of those scripts. And I feel like you could do that. If you can change your mind on something, you can change just about anything, right? There's some examples like, okay, I can't just magically change my mind on some of the bipolar and ADHD stuff, right? I get that. I know there's certain limitations, but there's a lot I can do. And if I had the time, I don't know, because it would get really, really personal. And you're like, how much more personal could you get? You're pretty personal on here, pretty open on here. I know, I'm hoping it helps someone. But if I had the time, I could really go in and talk about even the last, and I kind of talked about a little bit yesterday or 2 days ago Monday's episode, about the changes I've seen myself in the last 6 months, 3 months, and 6 weeks, as I've really been doing some inner work. I just saw my reflection in the window and it scared me. I thought I was like another person. That was weird. And why would another person scare me? There are other people in the building at times. That was weird. That was super trippy. Maybe it's my sign to wrap this up. So I'll wrap it up with just saying, I could talk about and I mentioned on Monday how to the point where the growth, the changes were becoming so rapid that I was worried that people are going to start to accuse me of having a midlife crisis. But which, at the end of the day, good. Let them. What a great problem to have. That you've become such a better person in such a short period of time that people think you're having a midlife crisis. That is not at all a problem I even want to register as a real problem. That sounds like a good thing because it shows that you're putting in the work. So with that, really think about some of the things that you hold on to. Do you want to keep holding on to them? Or do you want to begin to change that thing? So love you guys. Have a blessed day. I'll see you in the next episode.